Yes, you guys, welcome back. I guess I wanted to make this video to use it as an opportunity to give my thoughts and opinions behind the current state of the national team, because yet again, we saw another typical target, safe, uninspiring performance against Scotland. And you know what? I want to keep things real. I got respect for this Scottish team. They have some great players. Look at their midfield: McGregor, McGinn, Gilmore, McTominay at the back, Tierney, Robertson up front. They got Jay Adams, one of the most improved players in the Premier League from last season. Definitely one to watch for next season. But on top of that, they have a team, they have a way of playing, and they have a clear structure. And that was why we saw a good performance from them against us yesterday. With us, on the other hand, after all these years, there still feels like there is no straight, proper structure and way of playing. And in tournaments like this, you will get found out eventually. And it got me thinking, what is it about the national team? Why is it that we constantly are finding ourselves in this position every year, every decade? What is limiting the potential of the national team? Because when you look at Premier League football, where of course these guys are coming from, it's known for its fast-paced, gung-ho, attack from the front style football. And that's what's been marketed across the world. That's what we see in Europe. English clubs recently are getting into the semi-final places, final places again for, counter-pressing, attacking, high work rate type of football. This is the Premier League philosophy which these English players play in, yet we don't see that same philosophy applied to the national team. Instead, we see the complete opposite. We see the absolute antithesis. We see a pragmatic team that plays within themselves time and time again, that plays with a seatbelt on, safety first, any and every single cost. And it got me thinking, why exactly is that? And everything hit me after the first game against Croatia. Now, that game, the massive talking point beforehand wasn't the fact that TRIPPIER was playing as a left back in the game. This was quite surprising, as not only had Southgate brought 4 right backs to the team, he also didn't use either one of the 2 left backs that we had, and Luke Shaw or Ben Chilwell, who both had amazing seasons for their clubs respectively, yet they found themselves out of a place in the team. And my thing is, what was the reason behind leaving out this quality against Croatia? And as Southgate said, the main reason behind why he played TRIPPIER wasn't for any strong tactical reasons or footballing reasons. It was based on the fact that he felt like his communication style, his leadership, would have been better playing alongside Tyrone Mings down the left. And I was like, wow, this makes a ton of sense. And it kind of just summarized all the feelings I've been having. With England, they are constantly finding and using structures that protect their weakest players instead of building a system and structure that make their best players play even better. We're looking at the Euros right now, we're looking at the nations. They all have their clear style of football, from Spain to Portugal to Holland, Belgium. Scotland, we even saw them with their clear structure and style, yet we still don't have that. And if it ever comes down to opinions, for managers feeling like they must have this safety first approach at all times, it's counterproductive. It doesn't work. In that game versus Croatia, yes, TRIPPIER, I guess, did what he had to do in terms of what Southgate wanted to see, but that cost us from a footballing perspective. We limited our attack, we limited the variations. TRIPPIER was constantly playing passes backwards because he couldn't receive on his left foot, because that's not his strongest foot. He wasn't providing any overlapping options, and it becomes quite easy to defend against that when teams are this regimented and this controlled. And it would have made no difference whatsoever if Ben Chilwell or Luke started in that game. We would have had more variations. But maybe this sums up how Southgate feels. It feels like he clearly does not trust the defense, that he feels that he has to constantly protect them at all times, and that is this is gonna affect how the rest of the players play. It's that simple. The pass maps reflect this. They reflect this like so clearly. If you look at England's pass maps, everything is played down either flank. There is no penetration through the middle. The build-up is down the flanks at all costs and at all times. And you ask yourself, why is this in particular? Oh yeah, again, this makes a ton of sense. If we attack down the flanks, it means that we can be compact and we can be strong centrally. Our defenders, the back line, they can stay a bit deeper, so we can limit teams' threat on the counter-attack. And then when you have Declan Rice screening that defense in front of them as well, that's going to make us more solid essentially. The shame is though, is that this affects how you play and build up in the final thirds. And what is so ironic, because this is typical England fashion, every player plays better playing through the middle. Mason Mount we've seen Foden, we've seen Harry Kane, we've seen Declan Rice. So many of them do that, and essentially we are affecting how these guys can play just so Tyrone Mings can feel a lot more assured. But if you were to quantify that, let's say Southgate's reasoning allows Mings to play at a 10, why does that matter when the rest of the players will have to come down from, let's say, their 8s to a 6 to accommodate for a very negative style of football? Against Croatia, I saw the intelligence behind things, and I understood the context. First game in the Euros at Wembley at home, and it was a very boring way to play, but at the same time, it absolutely stopped Croatia doing anything in the game, and for me, that was where I could definitely give credit to it. But, again, Scotland, you had to see something completely different. We needed more options between the lines. We had to have a central presence in that team. And you see it all the time. Instead of playing passes between the lines or playing line-breaking passes, we're constantly seeing centre-backs playing deep balls from long over the top, finding the runs of Sterling and behinds. We're constantly seeing passes played sideways, playing very safe vertical passes down the flanks, allowing teams to keep their structure centrally. It doesn't get the best out of Harry Kane. And the beautiful irony about this, and what I'm saying, is that the goal we scored against Croatia came from building up through the middle. Kane was able to show his Tottenham form, and I keep saying this, we can't keep praising players and have debates of this guy's world class, that guy's world class, but without understanding what makes him world class. And do Tottenham ever use Harry Kane in the manner that England do? In the manner where Kane is leading the line and having to be like a focal presence up front, occupying defenders? Absolutely not, because that limits the use you get from him. For me, it makes more sense to actually start Calvert-Lewin in every game if this is how Southgate wants to play, instead of doing this typical English thing of forcing in every big name player into the team just because of their name, when you want to have a system that is absolutely counterproductive to how they play. I'm sorry, yesterday I had to see something more in midfield. Rice, Mount, Foden. That's my midfield 3. I think it's got the perfect blend of pressing, of technicality, of defending, of control midfield too. And then when you have a base like that, because the most important thing in football is having that midfield, then that allows you to play your Sanchos, that allows you to play your Grealishes, players that, they need people to link up with. They need fullbacks to overlap. They need players in midfield that's comfortable playing between the lines, playing 1-2s with them, and rotating with them down the flanks too. But we can't do that at England because of very clear, set, regimented tactics that constantly promote a safety first mentality and attitude. I'm getting sick and tired of it, and it's one thing I've been saying and a ton of us have been saying for many years now, but the coaching for the national team, once you get past the under 20 level, under 21 and main team, national team level, the coaches are bottlenecks. Complete bottlenecks. The fact that England under 21s are doing nothing in the European Championships is a disgrace, because the talent we're producing is some of the best we've had for a very, very long time. Yet the coaches are using terrible, useless setups that don't get the best out of the talent they're producing, and that continues to the national team level. It's extremely disappointing. I think Foden, I think he's more useful when he's receiving deeper, as we're seeing. When he receives deeper in the half spaces, between the lines, receiving from the fullback or from one of the midfield players, he's able to receive in the half-turn, turn and make things happen. Him and Mount combine beautifully. Mount is much better when he's in a deeper role because you see his creative passing and he has that defending to go with it. And Declan Rice, his passing would actually be utilised and come to show. He's getting criticism, which for me is an absolute joke, because it's like, you can't praise this guy for what he's done at West Ham and then use his England form to reflect his level and what completely forget the manager is telling these guys what to do. I mean, this is modern day football. We know that coaches and managers have such a greater influence behind how teams play and set up now. And with Rice, he has the ability to play those first time passes between the lines with pace, with the perfect weight. We see that time and time again. You ask yourself, why don't we see that translated to the national team level? Because Southgate doesn't want to promote that. Because for him, there's no point having these guys playing their best football when at any time on the counter-attack, Tyrone Mings make a mistake. And my thing is this, if there isn't that perfect trust around him, if he isn't the leader, which I thought he was, and that was the reason why he's in the squad and in the team, then don't use him. We have players now that are comfortable playing out from the back, comfortable receiving there, and that would allow us to play with a higher line instead of this nonsense where we play very deep and look to keep circulating the ball in the wide areas all the time to keep our shape in the middle. It's not good enough. It will come to haunt us, and as we're seeing, you know, it's this knockout football. It doesn't really matter if you win every game 3-2, 4-3, as long as you progress and get through. That's what we need to promote. This will allow the players to play their football and play to their levels. It's that bravery you want to see. And you know, when Southgate is using someone like a Billing in a game against Scotland, where ideally, with how you know they're going to play and set up, he wasn't needed. This was an opportunity to play a foreign there, or use Bellingham. Bellingham, who's excellent, playing in many different roles in midfield. Ironically though, we see Steve Clarke making that brave decision by giving the first start to Gilmour in his Scotland career. And look at the performance. He wins the Man of the Match award, and this came after much public pressure and outcry that Gilmour was not featured in the first game. And the irony is that Clarke might not have even picked him if not for circumstances. But he knew that it was time to take the chance, and Gilmour put in an excellent performance which really helped that Scotland midfield. And that's the difference. That's the absolute difference. Southgate's decisions when it came to making subs was just replacing like-for-like personnel. You know, it doesn't make a difference. What can Grealish do when essentially we're not changing how we're, you know, playing against these teams? We're just hoping and praying for some individualism to steal the day, which doesn't happen. For me, it's very disappointing. The fact that Southgate already has been confirmed to going to stay on once this Euro ends just kind of sums up the mentality around how, you know, the national team's looked at, in my personal opinion. The amount of talent we have coming through and that will keep coming through for the next years, you guys, it's absolutely unreal. And my thing is that we'll never fully see a proper technical England national team because, again, this weak, typical English mentality of safety first and having no foresight, no vision, no cojones, no bravery, you know, it's going to come to cost us in the end. As, you know, we're seeing what that mentality does with life politically at this point in time. That thing just translates to our sport as well. It's not good enough anymore. And, you know, as other national teams have done, like Germany, big changes are needed now at a coaching level. It's time we have someone who's more modern, who gets it, and of course allows this team to flourish, you guys. So on that point, I'm going to wrap things up, keep things moving. I'm in EFC. This is Blue Lions TV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.